We are in the era of the cool nerd, someone who decades ago would have been shoved into a locker, but in the modern era is appreciated for their nuance and unique contributions to society.
Nerds are cool.
Right.
Yeah. When they're like, I'm a nerd, man, I like this shit. That's cool.
Elon Musk, think what you will about him, very divisive dude, but he is extremely popular and undeniably a nerd. Tom Holland grew up doing ballet. He's 4'11", arguably one of the most powerful heroes in the Marvel universe and in a very long-term relationship with Zendaya, who is taller than him. Henry Cavill, Phineas, Donald Glover, Denzel Curry, Kevin Parker, Tyler the Creator. Being a nerd is cool now. A couple of weeks ago, I did a list of classically defined cool cars for cool guys, and you guys suggested a bunch of cars that I missed out on. And at first, I was like, wrong. But then I looked at them and I was like, actually, a lot of these cars are cool, just not obviously cool. And I am a firm believer that your automobile can and should represent exactly who you are. But how do you choose the right one for you? Well, I put together a list of cool cars for cool nerds at wildly different price points. And we're going to go through it and figure out the best one for you using the nerdiest thing of all, math. This week, we're solving a new problem, so we have an updated equation. Cool to the nerdth degree equals style plus uniqueness plus fellowship, which is the nerdiest way I could think to say community, because Lord of the Rings, plus the X factor, which is just a general sense of nerdiness. I encourage you to play along at home. So we started off the list last week with a Saab 900, and it shot shockwaves through our community. Half of you guys were like, oh my God, you said Saab. I was immediately on board. And then half of you guys were adamantly anti-Saab. In response to that, I've decided to include it on this list again. Not only the Saab 900, but every Saab across the board. If you guys keep giving me shit, I'm going to put it on every single list. JK. If you don't think a Saab is a classically cool car, which I actually think it is, you gotta agree with me. It's a cool, nerdy car. It's got enough vacuum lines to go from here to the moon twice. And they got a bunch of stuff that's just a little different. But if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. Like, the key is in the middle of the two seats. Why? Well, apparently, it reduces leg injuries in a crash. All right, so Saab. Definitely a face that only a mother could love. And the X Factor. Saab is the reason that the X Factor is in the equation. Saab, very cool nerd car. Next up, Volvo 240. Rear-wheel drive, offered with a turbocharged engine, manual transmissions, boxy shape, but also famously safe. One of the first cars to feature a collapsible steering column and a reinforced safety cage. You know what they call a turbo Volvo 240? A turbo brick. It's the Nokia phone of cars. There's a huge engine bay, so you can fit almost any engine in there. You want to LS swap your Volvo 240? Go ahead and do it. Basically, if you want to do anything to them, a million people have already done it. So you can look it up on how to do it. And a Volvo 240 ain't your bag, and you want a slightly different shaped box, the 850R has a really great racing history. They raced through touring cars. Volvo 240s were made from 1974 to 1993. Best of all, Volvos are still very cheap. You can get them for $0 all the way up to probably $150,000. Is a Volvo 240 cool to the nerd degree? I'd say looks alone is very just nerdiness. Yes, Volvo 240, cool nerd car. Next cool car for cool nerds, divisive, not immediately cool, but if you think about it, very cool. I'm talking about Mini Coopers, especially the John Cooper Works ones. It's a Mini for the track. There's some famous videos of like a Mustang ripping around a track, and there's just this little Mini just like terrorizing him the whole time. And like the Mustang will pull away on the straight, and the Mini and the quarter will just like Minis basically invented front wheel drive, by the way. Everyone was like, what? No, there's no room up there. And Mini was like, actually, Why would we put a pole all the way to the back to make the back wheels work? We're just going to do it all up here. They invented a genre, like with technology. What's nerdier than that? That's like Star Wars. They invented a genre with technology. It's like Avatar. The John Cooper Works Mini that I'm thinking of is like 2018, 2017-ish. It's got 212 horsepower. It's turbocharged. You can get it for less than $20,000, which I know is a lot of money, but I didn't invent the economy. That's how much stuff costs now. I'm sorry, guys. Is Mini cool, nerd? Yeah. I'd say one of the less unique cars on this list, probably just because they still make them. Minis, very cool. Next car. This car is so popular that some of you guys might say, hey, James, that's not nerdy. That's just straight up cool. But why don't you tell me, what is nerdier than a lightweight, low-powered car that is popular because it was the underdog hero in a Japanese cartoon about car dancing? I am, of course, talking about the AE86 Corolla, the Hachi Roku. Like, just an exercise in restraint. It's extremely well balanced, lightweight, really good to drive. It's the ultimate DIY drift car. It's got perfect 50-50 weight distribution, dual overhead cam, 16 valves, so it's like, it's not accidentally fast. Famous drivers in Japan had AE86s, and then there's like tribute builds to those guys, and then like those guys will see the tribute builds. It's so nerdy. It's like being like into cosplay, but not dressing like Captain America. You're dressing like a famous cosplayer who dressed like Captain America. Made from 1983 to 1987. These little f***ers are expensive. Anywhere from, I'd say, 10 for a really bad one to like 25 for a pretty good one, all the way up to like 40 for a really nice one. I bought one at the beginning of COVID for $8,000. It was a huge piece of junk. Ended up doing an engine swap and selling it for quite a bit more than that, but it was still kind of like not very well put together. Cool to the nth degree. It's the star of an anime. They are very, very cool looking if you know what they are, but if you don't know what they are not. This next entry might be a little unexpected. A Ford Ranger. Whoa, put the knives away, gentlemen. Let me explain. A Ford Ranger is a cool nerd car because it requires confidence to be like, I need a truck, yes, but I only need it to move like some stuff, you know? Sometimes you just need a bed and two-wheel drive. My dad had a Ford Ranger and he drove it through a garage and had to go to the emergency room. I bet, depending on where you live, you can still find a Ranger for $500. But I'm sure there's nice ones that cost a lot more. So, cool to the nth degree. It's like overalls. If you can pull it off, you look great. If you can't, you look like kind of a dork. But at the end of the day, you still got a pocket in the front. X Factor, off the charts. That certain nerd that we're all looking for. Thank you to Ridge for sponsoring this video. Welcome to this part of the garage. Before you skip this ad, Christmas is coming up, and if you're like me, you've probably procrastinated getting gifts for people. It's hard to know what to get. Well, here you go. Get him something from Ridge. Ridge has a bunch of different, cool, well-made, customizable products that make perfect gifts. Everyday carry knives, iPhone cases, a key case. No more dangling keys. They even make luggage. And of course, their famous slim front pocket wallets, which you've heard me say before, are great for driving. Roll that footage. Are designed for your front pockets. See? Is this person that you're giving a gift to a fan of anything? Well, if they're a guy, they probably are. Ridge has NFL versions, MLB versions, college versions, Realtree, NASA. You can even get it customized. Just like the cars on this list, infuse your gift with that X factor. Ridge started out as a Kickstarter, so I really like the fact that the dudes who started it were in the garage tinkering with stuff. As you can tell, it's cool to start a business in a garage with your friends. And it's really cool to see them grow. So everything is super high quality, and right now you can get up to 47% off of some of their products. So go to our link, ridge.com/speed, SPEEED, and get some Ridge products. I've been trying to give little gifts to people in my life. A little bit goes a long way, and people are really honored when they find out that you thought of them. And now, back to the show. In a certain way, this next car is the nerdiest car on this list. This is not, oh, I like Marvel movies and comic books and Funko. This is, I paint my own Warhammer characters and build model Gundams. I'm talking about the Mitsubishi Starion, a car so nerdy that some of you have never heard of it. Mitsubishi Starion is the most 80s styled car ever. Wedge shape, pop up and down headlights. Oh! Turbocharged. And for my collector nerds out there, you could have a ton of fun with this one because finding parts is extremely hard. There's a wide range of price on these boys. You can get them for anywhere from $7,000 all the way up to $20,000 or $30,000. It's like baseball cards. Some of them aren't worth anything, but some of them apparently are worth a lot. Cool. Yes, they're super rare. It's for a very specifically cool nerd. This next car, more than any car on this list probably, doesn't look like any other car. Talking about the BMW Z3 Coupe, aka the clown shoe. Basically, they were like, hey, this Miata thing is doing pretty well. What if we put our engine in it and gave it to Pierce Brosnan, aka James Bond? These cars are nerdy, one, because they're like cool looking in a very off-putting way, like Adam Driver or Adrian Brody or Timothy Chalamet. Like, you're like, oh God, actually, I'm into it. This is like a Jack White car. When Jack White made all the White Stripes albums, he used a plastic guitar that was only sold at, I think, Sears, called a Dan Electro guitar. Before the White Stripes, this guitar was not collectible. But as soon as Jack White started playing them and the tone started being associated with the White Stripes, all of a sudden you can't find a Dan Electro guitar for a reasonable price. This is a car like that, where at first glance you're like, what the f*** were you thinking? And then you hear Jack White play it and you're like, oh, actually this thing is really cool. You can get the non-M coupes for $15,000 to $25,000 for a really nice one, and the M coupes anywhere from $20,000 all the way up to like $60,000 for a really nice one. Cool to the nth degree. This is the first car that runs 100% on X Factor. My friend has a purple one. This next car is skinny tie, short sleeve, dress shirt, buzz cut, thick, black frame, glasses, cool. Talking about the Volkswagen Phaeton, a car that should not exist for any reason other than it was a guy's dying wish. Or retirement wish, I think. One of the most technologically advanced and luxurious automobiles ever made. It has a Volkswagen badge on it. And Volkswagen owns Bentley. So they could have just put a Bentley badge on it, but they didn't. It's built on the same platform as the Bentley Continental GT. It has insane engine options like a V8 or a W12. Oh, great. So how many cylinders is it going to have? 12. V12, huh? No. A straight 12? No. It's going to be a W12. Does anybody else do that? No. That's like the VR6, but doubled. It's honestly sick. I cannot think of a nerdier engine, except maybe like a rotary. There were a ton of requirements given to the Phaeton development team, one of which was it had to be engineered to maintain a constant speed of 186 miles per hour at an exterior temperature of 122 degrees Fahrenheit while keeping the interior at a comfortable 72 degrees Fahrenheit. That's precise, dog. Nobody should buy a Phaeton. Like, if one of my friends had a Phaeton, I'd be like, dude, that's so sick. He drives a Phaeton. But anybody was like, what car should I get? Should I buy a Phaeton? I'd be like, no. What are you, dumb? And the prices are wildly different. There's a couple for sale for a little over $10,000 in LA right now, all the way up to $30,000 and maybe more for the W12s. Does the Phaeton have style? Not really. It looks like a big Passat. The whole car is X Factor. Very cool nerd car. Don't buy it. This next car is little, but powerful. It's got a lot of work into it. It's the Mikey Messamucci of cars. I'm talking about the Toyota Gazoo Racing Corolla. It's got 300 horsepower and it gets great gas mileage. 3-cylinder turbo, which is f***ing nerdy, dude. Why not a 4-cylinder turbo? Because 3 cylinders are smaller, and if we do the science right, we can make it just as powerful and be lighter. Okay, cool. Cool, dude. All right, dude. It has a forged carbon fiber roof. Zach Joe broke one. This thing does not make any sense unless you understand that rally exists. It's a rally car. It's got Toyota's GR4 all-wheel drive system, which allows drivers to adjust the front to rear torque distribution between 60-40, 50-50, or 30-70, depending on, I don't know, terrain and how you want the car to spin around the corner. And if you ask any person who really likes cars about them, they're like, yeah, dude, those are freaking sick. But if you ask, I don't know, 50% of them, if they would drive one, they'd be like, nah, not me. It's a cute little economy car that they used technology to make into an absolute weapon that performs really, really, really well. If most people are going to spend between $45,000 and $60,000 on a car, very rarely is it a very fast, little tiny hatchback. Is it cool? Yeah. 1,000,000 points, yeah. Super cool. The fact that it exists at all is just super cool. Before we get to the last car, I am happy to announce that we have merch, shirt, hat, sticker pack. We wanted to get it out in time for the holidays, so I don't even have it yet, but this is the shirt that we're putting it on. It's very nice. This is how it fits. Very cool. Quantities are very limited for this first run, so go over to speed.co and get you one. Thank you guys so much for supporting us. It's been a wild ride, and there's so much more exciting stuff to come. I love you. Now, what is the nerdiest car, dude? The final car on this list is the nerdiest car ever made. Peak nerd. Every technology available in the universe has been used and applied to this car to make the most nerdy example of a car possible. I'm not going to go too deep into it because we already went super deep into it. We made an entire hour-long video on it, the Porsche GT3 RS. If you want to know why, go check out that video and subscribe to this channel. None of these cars have insane horsepower numbers. I wouldn't say that any of them are objectively beautiful, and I don't think that most of them would garner a compliment from a non-car person who doesn't know what they're looking at. But each of these cars has something valuable under the surface. Some obscure piece of tech, some weird history, some undeniable function. They might be an under-the-radar performance cheat code for those in the know, or just a unique vehicle for a person that likes to go against the grain. But each of these cars is special, and each of these cars has a community that loves it and supports it. You just got to look hard enough, be patient, and be open, and you'll find it. So even though it might not be obvious to everyone at first, I think that every one of these cars is very cool. Can you guys see a parallel that I might be drawing here? Maybe you might see one if you go look in the mirror. Be yourself, love yourself, be nice to people, and I love you.